to be able to put a face to a voice, Tanner. Morning,
Mm-hmm.
folks.
Morning,
Good
everybody.
morning. I'm going to share this link in a few places. Maybe get some traction. Dragon 6 in the series. Only 300 more to go.
I look forward to being there to the bitter end. Although, aren't we going to like 250 or
Yeah,
260?
just wherever 2E starts. Just to the end of 1E.
Good, good. I don't have a lot of good things to say about 2E. Some, but
Yeah,
not enough to warrant deep diving into it again.
yeah. I
Again,
Well,
played the crap out of it, but all I could do now is probably criticize it. To be
yeah.
I
honest.
like stuff in 2E. I think it's a nice side dish to 1E, but yeah, you can definitely feel the Lorraine Williams on it.
Well, not just that, but the entire premise for making it,
That's
to
what I
screw,
mean.
that I can't, I didn't know that back then. It took a long time before I found that out, and that's just, I even though I am a spiteful person, I don't like seeing it in others, especially toward or against people I do like.
Yeah.
Uh, I never knew Guy Dax personally, but if it weren't for him, we wouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
here.
I gets it. All right. Dragon number 6.
Yeah.
It has one of the better covers, I think.
Yes. I absolutely adore this cover. I love the brassy and yellow scheming. I love the mists and floating apple and castle in the background. The girl. The is this uh the far traveler from the last few stories, or is a different guy?
It's a different guy. Morno.
And
I started writing in this one.
Yeah,
and
he.
the really freaky
So,
half. I think that's a harpy, but the bottom half is more like insect.
well, harpies can look what you
Can
want.
you bring up a picture of the cover?
I'm not sure how to do that. Keep my glasses on.
Share screen.
Share screen. Actually, I gotta save the image and then I'll share screen in a second. Just give me
Awesome.
1 second to pull it up.
Yeah, Morno was actually a pretty prevalent artist, at least with Arduin fame and maybe Dragon Magazine. I didn't know he actually wrote as well. We'll get a short
That's
story
where I
from him.
recognized him from.
Yeah,
Okay, this art looked familiar, and I couldn't pinpoint why. I also love the crescent moon. This is very 90s, and if you look
Is it?
closely in the top left corner, you can see a face in the one of the columns there. It's got a big old nose and a mustache.
and from what I understand, I think he was just a kid at the time.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. I mean, everybody was a kid back then.
Crap. Where did I say that to? I'm real bad for that. I got the old man problems. Like, what did I save that to? I saved it to my Dragon RPG folder. Oops. As in Dragon Slayer.
I mean, this is like episode 7, not counting the introduction. Like, people should know that we're a very much a down to earth stream thingamagabber. This is nowhere close to prim and proper.
Is that up there? Okay.
Yeah. Can you make it bigger?
That's what she said. Yeah.
In begin.
It's not small, it's just worn down.
Well, I mean, it's not the size of the image; it's the power, right?
I guess. It reminds me of the Hawkwind album cover. I swear. It's on the cover of Hawkwind, and I would pick it up just because of the cover. I got a bunch of Hawkwind albums that I only got because of the album cover, and like 2 or 3 songs I like. Oh yeah.
I did a dive into them when I found out. Michael Moorcock was in the band, and they were big fans and friends of my favorite band, Blue Oyster Cult. So one of these days, someone's got to do a show about D&D music, because there was a lot of it out there.
D&D inspired. Yeah, D&D inspired, I'd say.
You'd have a volunteer with me. I love this kind of music, this aesthetic, this kind of fandom. I, l- I mean, bees can absolutely attest to this. I am very much a '70s aholic.
Good for you. Good
So
for you.
I mean, I was there in the '70s as a child.
Mhm.
So, but I didn't catch the pop culture stuff at all. That was like my older cousins and uncles. But in retrospect, I love '70s film, '70s cinema, and some of the stuff I really like was birthed in the '70s and molded to what I like in the '80s. I'd say.
Even some of the
Yeah.
clothes still holds that nostalgic, you know.
Hmm.
You mean like the denim outfits, the torn denim and early punk when it didn't have a
Bell
uniform?
bottoms.
Not so much the bell bottoms or the hippie aesthetic left over from the 60s, but there's something about it that just brings back those memories of, like you said, when I was a wee lad, when I was just starting to realize there's a world outside one's home and school.
People seemed happier because they were on drugs.
They seem happy.
Quaaludes,
Maybe
Quaaludes.
lewds. The first ad is more heritage models. Hinchcliffe is still in. How do you pronounce that? Hinchcliffe.
Hinchcliffe, yeah, yeah.
It's still.
I have most of those minis on that page. I was and still am one of the biggest heritage supporters, even though it's been a long time. They made some of the most charming miniatures ever, and not great miniatures, but charming. Mike Carr's faces, you just
Mhm.
you'll never forget them. That little hobbit that came in the uh, Caverns of Doom paint and play set. Oh my God! Just
Did they do the Half-Late Army for wargaming? That was easy. I had a bunch of miniatures. I don't know who made them though. Thought they were Grenadier. Um,
it was probably Heritage. They did the whole Lord of the Rings from the cartoon. They had John Carter. They had Star Trek. They had something else really big. Oh, Universal Monsters.
mhm. Oh yeah, I remember those. I
They
kind
were
of they're on my list.
they were perfect for TSR gaming with John Carter and Hobbits and Universal Monsters.
I have all of them still. Some still
Nice.
sealed.
Yeah, have you guys actually played Metamorphosis Alpha?
I actually have, yes. It was really
Yeah,
fun.
I
Although I
just got
should have.
actually played Metamorphosis Alpha.
I have.
RPG Grandma is probably the biggest voice for that game right now out there. She played a crap ton of it. Uh, and I looked through the PDF just last year for the first time, and I'm like, hey, I'd rather just play Gamma World.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
I think I could use it as a template for Wretched Space and have a ton of fun with it, and have it like the Beyond influenced, kind of like
Event
what was that movie with where it
Horizon?
crashed in the water? It was an arc ship,
Oh,
and they
yes.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's what I liked about this article.
Andorian.
This Metamorphosis Alpha article, because the whole game has got that whole for the world is hollow and I've touched the sky Star Trek
Mhm.
vibe to it, and for me that would be so hard to play like I don't know that. And in this case, the suggestion is to roll up characters that know the whole secret and are cloned and created to go
Mhm.
and fix the problem. I think that would just hold a little bit more staying power for me as a gamer.
Yeah, plus they're damaged. Everybody playing damaged character, so the
Yeah.
holes in your character memory could be your player. You know,
Indeed. And I should also add in when Jim Ward brought this back for third edition and fourth edition, not third and fourth D&D, but he did a couple different takes on Gamma World over the ages. Third and fourth had this setup of waking up from cryo, things have gone wrong, as the vanilla game, how you start.
yeah.
So clearly he was aware that people had trouble playing, the high tech primitive. Um, Although I will mention two things here. I love the little wink nod to Joe Jim in the picture here. Um, it's actually a little bit of a myth that Jim Ward was inspired by Orphans in the Sky, the Robert A. Heinlein novel. I think he said he never read that or didn't read that when he was making it, and there was other stuff he was drawing on. But clearly, a lot of people playing it also liked that novel. So in a lot of gaming magazines, you see a lot of two-headed mutants like this guy.
Really?
Yeah. If you want some context, Joe Jim is one of the higher ups in the mutants in Heinlein's novel, and he's a two-headed guy. He's got one head and he's got two heads, and they played chess against each other. And I'm pretty sure Joe Jim was the inspiration for Zaphod Beetlebrox.
Problem. Well, Hitchhiker's Guide was written in, what's the date on Hitchhikers? I think
78.
78.
Remember, Orphans was a couple of decades old by this point.
Yeah.
I've read it. I didn't love it. I actually am, unfortunately, very much the Heinlein unenjoyer. But
Heinlein's books were hit or miss. He was so prolific that there's bound to be something you don't like. As I get older, I like him less. But back in the day, he was one of the easiest writers to come across. There were so many of his books.
Mm-hmm.
What was that one? Stranger in a Strange Land. Everybody I knew had read that. I still haven't read that one.
All right.
Not missing a whole lot, I'm afraid. It's less that he's like everywhere, more that like this is going to be a bit harsh here. You know that thing where like your ego just affects everything you work on?
Mm-hmm.
That's Heinlein.
Well, that's most writers after their third, fourth novel, to be honest.
Starship Troopers was the very first book I not only read that was like hard sci-fi, but in my first year in 7th grade, went to the library, saw that book, grabbed it, loved it, and from that point on, I tried to get more of his books, but most of what was available at the time were his like books for kids, R is for Rocket kind of thing, and as I read more of his stuff, it was like, yeah.
I like his hard stuff, dude. I mean, Starship Troopers has a lot of undertones that I think are relevant today, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
Great book.
Yeah.
Probably inadvertent.
The other thing I'd like to point out is if you look at the mutations that your reawoken clones can have developed over the time, I think they're under explanation of skills, yeah. One or two of them stuck out to me, not in a bad way, but a darkly amusing way. So, Metamorphosis Alpha is infamously deadly. Mm-hmm. I actually remember losing my first character to, like, just this not bolt, but, like, we entered a radiation field, I flubbed my roll, and I was just gone.
Yeah, radiation poisoning's bad.
Oh, yeah, you do not fuck around on the Starship Warden. One of the skills is titled Immortal. Total immunity to poison, radiation, and disease. Regenerate 5 points per day. Transfusion of blood into a non-immortal cures 2 to 40. So I think that's 2 to 20 hit points, and can be done once a month. So I'm chuckling at this because there are clear limitations to this, but I'm chuckling because if your clone rolls this, you are literally the second coming of Jesus.
I think it's an exaggeration. I think he'd be hunted down and hooked up into a machine.
That is the deconstructionist take on the matter. But I mean, I was thinking more like how Omega Man is secretly a Jesus story where his blood saves mankind.
Yeah, that was different from the original story, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, very different. Like, in Omega Man, it's mutants who can't go out in the day, and in the original, it's just straight up vampires.
I'm a fan of the Vincent Price.
Oh, yeah.
Last Man, great film. I'm a huge Vincent Price fan. But I prefer
I adore the man.
All the new stuff.
Yeah, but I like the book better, but I see that one as like, you better not tell anybody you can do that. You know what I mean?
We've become so jaded, haven't we? But on the mutation chart, when you make a character for this concept for a Metamorphosis Alpha campaign, mutant 35 or less, 36 to 50, latent mutant stock, and 51 up human. So you can still just be good old average Joe. But
I was wondering on some of those abilities, like the healing one, where it says you give up hit points. Do you think that's a permanent thing, or do you
Probably
get your
not.
hit points back?
that would be however you want to rule it. Whoever's running the game would rule it. You know, we're all being fiat guys here.
Yeah,
If you-
I just assumed that you'd recover that.
Because I could see, because to me it seemed like you only get to do this a couple of times and then you're dead.
Nah, I wouldn't. I would say it's like doing a life transference.
Yeah.
Bit of like natural necromancy.
So you
Yeah,
could just,
basically.
if you healed your hit points back naturally, you get them back.
Yeah.
That's how I do it. That way you have a cleric in Metamorphosis Alpha. A shitty cleric, but yeah, you got one.
Yeah, you can absolutely see him wanting to bring the cleric in, because I know that they ran D&D games on the Warden, and the cleric was often cut off from his or her god, so it's like, oh shit, how do I repair these people?
Yeah, that's why they brought that planner disconnect in, was with those adventures. I do like the latent mutant stock. That way you could get mutations later as you get exposed to the radiation, and you're going to get exposed.
There you are.
Yeah, there's a 9% chance though you're just going to die, or 10%. 91 to 100, roll it. Yeah, you just die. Get an abnormal, lethal mutation.
Yeah, but you know, having looked at the original rules, it took you like a minute to roll up a character.
Yes.
You know, so it's not that you know, unless you've been playing, and that was making me think about how do you think the people of this era took the death of a character?
Honestly, pretty well, usually.
Oh, nowadays it's trauma. Back then, it was throwing the dice out.
Yeah, it's sad to remember that back in the day, a lady killing herself over Blackleaf was a straw man.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they don't really kill themselves now. But
Well,
it's
I've seen psychotic episodes of people losing their characters or just complete breakdowns.
Yep, same here.
It's ridiculous. I'm like, it's a fucking game. I mean, I'd get bummed if I lost one of my characters I had for 10 years or something, but then I'd roll another one. I wasn't.
And look at that. You had 10 years of fun with this character. You know, the character will
I
live on in
literally
your
lost.
imagination.
I literally lost 5 10th level and higher level characters, including a bard that was 10th level in bard, in one afternoon.
Serves you right.
Yeah, I should have left after like 2 or 3 and went like, all right, dude. But you know, I was told it was a high level, hard campaign world, blah blah blah, and I'm like, sure. And I didn't bat an eye. I didn't go home and cry. The cool thing was the bard was actually turned into an undead bard, so I had like a predecessor to Eddie, but in a D&D world that I got to take home with me.
Nice.
It's fun. Yeah, I think stuff like that. I mean, I think people take way too many things seriously nowadays. That especially something like a game. So it's a hobby or a game should not be taken all that seriously. We like to stroke our beard and get all philosophical about our hobby and pastime, but we're throwing dice and talking shit. I mean,
Yeah, like we do it because we like doing it, not because, you know, we're fulfilling some socioeconomic construct play or whatever.
well, I think some people are acting out stuff they can't get done in reality, and it's just like their little thing. And I'm like, it's
To be
not
perfectly-
it's
Wait
dead.
till you see my review of this. Holy crap! That's what this is all about. Oh my god!
Mhm.
Oh, is it? I stopped getting time years ago.
I didn't even bother touching that one. I knew exactly what was going to be in there without even needing to look into it.
Well, to be fair, and I'll go over it more later, it's the best and the worst of the hobby in one product.
Mm-hmm.
And the good times are in the past.
They will come again someday, but
No,
I
not
only
anytime
remember the good stuff.
Oh, I still have great games. I'm in, you know, a bunch of games, and there's still plenty to keep me coming back to the table.
Oh, yeah, I got more ideas. I got ideas that got started for campaigns and they just didn't quite work out. They just kind of scheduling or the bad TPK. I can go back. I got guys asking about my damn Stonehell in the Borderland again. I might do it again because no one's really gotten down to the nitty gritty of it, which makes me sad. But
Well,
it's
fix that.
ability duplicator. That's pretty. But yeah, these powers are pretty decent. And later on, they actually flesh out some stuff that was just not given enough attention in the original release. Which you see that a lot in Dragon Magazine, where they're going, "Oh yeah, we released this, but by the way, we forgot to define something." But yeah,
I'm kind of bummed there was no out on a limb.
yeah, probably forgot.
I honestly think because it was that long ago, they just didn't have enough pertinent.
Not had enough entries. Yeah, remember the sixth issue of a niche hobby. I mean, and you actually have to sit down and write a letter.
Yep.
Yeah, miss deadlines. I think we're done with that. This is a neat idea. I would recommend this for anyone doing that style sci-fi game. If you're inspired by Pandorium and you want to use like Mutant Future in space or Gamma World in space, then yeah, it seems like a fun time. You can
Another thought, although maybe this will be more pertinent when we finally do get to Gamma World in the magazine. And obviously, the warden's out in space. This is kind of impossible unless the DM gets a little crafty here. If you wanted, you could easily have the Starship Warden fall through a black hole, come out a white hole, crash back onto Earth during the Gamma World era, and have a mega dungeon players can optionally enter.
Yeah. Or you could use the spaceport, the Albuquerque spaceport that came in the Dungeon Master's screen, and use that shuttle to get there.
Yeah. Or any orbital space station. You have fun with space station stuff.
Yeah.
Indeed. I know in Games and Puzzles, which was another magazine around this time that was getting into the D&D thing, there's a sample first level dungeon, first level of a dungeon, which has this one warp pad and it doesn't tell you where it goes. If you want, that could easily lead to the Warden.
Oh yeah.
Now this next one, the Sea Trade and D&D campaigns, this is basically something that came up in somebody's campaign, and they made a solution and they put it in here, and they took it. And I will probably copy this chart and modify it for mine because I got guys who always want to play Dungeons and Merchants instead of playing.
Yeah, but it takes a lot out of the player's hand, which is the one thing I did like about it. It's a little crunchy and a little, puts all the work on the GM. He's got to, come up with the reports of what happened to your vessel or your fleet, how much money you made, and I would make the players work a little harder for that.
Yeah, domain level play, that's all it is. It's just bookkeeping and notifications. Domain level play is actually when you have a regular game, I'd say it's 50-50. You reacting what the players do and stuff. But when you get to domain play, I think that goes down to 75-25. 75% on the DM. Domain play is hard. People don't really
domain play is
it is.
Domain play is literally my sweet spot for the game.
Oh,
I love it when the players finally get to that point and can start doing things that actually make sense instead of looking for the next dungeon to loot, or the next quest. It's all I look at it the opposite. It's all on them. I'll roll some random encounters, and the whole time they're building and negotiating and doing all this stuff that has less and less to do with combat.
The logistics are all on the DM, though. The logistics of weather, seasonal events, population shifts, changes, that's all on the DM. The players can light fuses and get stuff moving, but all that is extra DM work without the players even having anything to do with it. They just create, like, I go this direction, blah, blah, and then you got to, for the kingdom, and it's a lot. It's a lot.
I suppose.
Yeah, but I'm going to modify this. It's a very simple. The more ports you miss, the higher chance you get for a good return. There's fees and taxes. I think the fees are a little high for fantasy, around 500 gold pieces per port. I'd say more like 50,
I guess it would depend on the economy. But if you look back in 1E, money was a lot more was handed out a lot more often, I think.
Oh yeah, it was the tables are crazy. I'm looking at Dragon Slayer right now, and all the giants have 5,000 gold. You kill a giant, you're getting like 5K each time. It's like, oh, a lot of XP thrown in your lap.
Money, you definitely earned more of it, but you also spent a lot more of it. It also got extracted a lot more.
Well, AD&D required training, and this is not even based for AD&D. This is for Eldritch. This is based on Eldritch Worlds.
Yeah.
This is for basic and Eldritch.
White box.
White box. Yeah, this is white box stuff. And this is the crunch for white box. People don't realize that the basic bones that AD&D came out of, people were making such massive crunch at their tables.
Yeah, they had to.
Yeah, they had to.
Back during the 70s and 80s, they actually wanted complexity. It wasn't until the 90s. Well, actually, there was a bit of that in the 80s with like Toon.
The 80s, when the split happened in mentality. The split was there. The Arneson Gygaxian split was in the 70s. But in the 80s, it became codified with basic D&D and AD&D.
And now we're kind of seeing complexity is slowly coming back. People are realizing, oh, this is why you have this intricate, heavy rule set. Also, off topic.
Yes and no. I still see the split of people trying to water it down to the lowest common denominator versus the people who want as much crunch as possible to the point of it making it unplayable.
Also, the art of the ship with the dragon head looks freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's decent art.
Indeed.
I do like the white art in there a lot more than everything else.
And you know, I'm running right now. My Sunday game is a nautical high seas adventures game. So
it'd be perfect for you.
Yeah, exactly. And there needs to be more of that. I cannot tell you how many times people noped out of getting on a boat for fear of drowning.
Yes.
Oh, that crap. It's like, look, you're just going to get mutilated in the dungeon anyway. Just go on the open seas.
There's no saving throw, and you can't beat drowning. All you can do is strip your armor and hope you do it fast enough, or you die.
Like, believe it or not, most of the players in my current campaign don't even wear armor.
Well, I mean, if you're on a boat, you probably wouldn't.
And they, even when they go in the dungeons, they're not like saying, "Oh, we need to get some armor for when we go in a dungeon." They don't even care. It's not a big deal. It's the way the whole world is. You know, it's like playing John Carter. You don't see people going, "Oh, I want to put some armor." No, you're not.
Yeah.
You know,
the region would dictate what kind of armor would be in use, because wearing plate in the desert's a bad idea.
Yep.
Chainmail dominated the ancient world because it was the most versatile for the most different areas, for the most protection, versus, you know, being uncomfortable or unusable. And also your tactics for regions. If I'm from an area that is all steppe and horse, I wear lighter armor because I'm riding a horse and I'm a bow warrior and I'm not going to slug it out.
One thing I did do, though, for my campaign, I gave everybody the non-weapon proficiency swimming, just free. Here you go. Shut up. I don't want to hear it.
That's really fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody knows how to swim because there's nothing but, you know, it's basically a water world.
Right.
You know? So, yeah, you can all swim. Shut up. Let's play.
Yeah.
And I need to give you props for doing sort of a water world sort of campaign setting. Like, I am the last person to slag, like, knights on horseback and dragons in castles and stuff like that. But it's like the piracy on the high seas and, like, island exploration and stuff like that. It is so underserved in fantasy when there's so much great
Voyage
stuff.
of the Dawn Treader was all I needed, buddy.
Sinbad, both the French stories they put into the 1001 Arabian Nights and the Harryhausen movies.
Yep,
the Quest for the Golden Fleece.
It's all there. Even Pirates of Dark Water and the movie Waterworld are all parts of this world.
Now let me tell you something, Shadow. Now those rules don't look like shit.
Hey, what's up, Eldrad?
What's going on?
Good to see you. We're talking about piracy and sea trade and cool stuff like that. And you missed Mutant Jesus.
It doesn't say there's piracy on this. It just says ship lost, owner notified. That would be your pirate. So you basically
or sea monster.
We're sea monster.
Sea monster.
or even
Sagan.
a typhoon, or other.
The most
Maybe.
valuable magic item to have if you're going to do this, stone of good luck.
Yeah, or a Horn of the Tritons if you're actually going to play it out.
You own the boat, therefore all rolls in the game, it's meta currency, get it plus or minus 10% to your benefit. So
and if you can find one of those,
the stone of good luck is awesome.
And if you can find one of those +2 luck stones,
exactly. That eliminates most of your danger on here. You could go 4 to 5 ports with bypass with confidence and reap the most. It's kind of handy. Mm-hmm. Now here's where Shadow's going to spaz out. Legion of the Petal Throne painting guide.
Yeah, I as into it as I thought I was going to be. It was like, I don't care.
It was tedious. I did like the painting for the priest because it's how I paint my evil clerics. Nice. The rest, it was more than a little tedious.
Yes, it was. So reading about things that you don't know about, and why am I caring? And other than the monster-looking things like that like Zorn-looking thing, that was cool. I'm like, oh my god, I'm stealing that. But that was about it. But had it not been for reading this, I would not have seen that creature. Reminded me a lot of how the Eternal Champions morphed into that weird thing in Elric.
Oh, the guy with the 4 swords. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it got blue lacquered. It goes into detail, like you need to do semi-glossy on this because it's lacquered, and this needs to be flat or matte, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, God, what a pain in the ass. I bet that would be beautiful.
Yeah, M.A.R. Barker was a very detailed person and a linguist. So there's actually a guy named Charin Bakai or something to that effect. Jeff Berry is still the last surviving one of the original party members.
I did a little deep dive into the Petal Throne, what's still available, and it's there. You could buy brand new copies of all kinds of crazy shit, but I won't. I've owned a copy of the Petal Throne now for about 6 months. I looked at it, I went, yeah, I'm putting it at the bottom of the pile again.
Bottom of the pile? Is it underneath Shadow Dark?
I already read Shadow Dark and I hated it.
It's a neat world, but it's a very detailed world. So
yeah, you're in his head. The monsters.
I was about to say, like, even if you're not a big minis painter, Takamal's not your thing. The artwork here is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And real quick, for the record, I'm actually in a Shadow Dark game. I didn't know I was in a Shadow Dark game because OGGM's running it. Having a blast in it, but it has nothing to do with the mechanics.
That should probably tell you everything right there about Shadow Dark.
I call it O5R.
It is.
It's a BX clone. I said, no, it's a 5e clone. It's a stripped down 5e. So which is it?
Like, I'm not even the biggest, I'm not adverse to monster PCs off the bat, but it's like there's something very eyebrow-raising about Goblin and Orc just being racial options from day one.
Yeah.
Palladium had that.
Yeah.
And that was
decades. True, but it's also Palladium.
And Wolfen. The Wolfen were far more interesting, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. They're effectively the Nordic Roman Empire.
They were kind of awesome. Yeah, I like the color palette for the Priest of Vihmala, whatever. More pronunciation dashes and everything. Flame orange, visor rim is gold, visor is painted either black or dark red. Epaulets are gold and red with design. I mean, it goes into detail right down to the underclothing. So you would have to shade it all up.
You know what's the funniest thing about it though is nobody had the skill to paint the way he's talking back then.
In the last issue before this, when they made that shit for Gen Con, they were painted that well. But this painting is more in depth than 40K.
Mm-hmm.
You think so?
There's on that priest alone are at least 13 different colors and layers.
Mm-hmm.
I would literally have to see it because The minis are 25 mil scale, and the detail was not so good.
Right, with the molding. I mean, right, the molds were not that great then, but yeah, you would have to. Some of it would just be lines of color for the undergarments or the
This
armor.
is sort of the tragedy in magazine painting guides, is that these guys are some of the best who ever were, best who ever will be. And that's not to say that you reading this, or me reading this, will never be that good, but it's like, our own paint jobs are not going to be nearly as impressive, and we're going to get a Homer moment where it's like, why doesn't mine look like that?
Well, I do table ready, and then I have elites that I put a lot of work into. But I don't paint anymore because my eyes and I shake. So I don't do it anymore. So I do table.
I don't remember. Were there any mentions of washes or dry brushing?
None.
Yeah, the two of the most critical techniques of painting, and
It's just the color guide. It didn't talk about method. It's just the color guide. But some were glossy and some weren't, right? So it recommends the lacquered stuff would be glossy.
which meant buying testers paints,
Mm-hmm.
thinner, and
At
having
the time, 1977, who else was there besides Tester?
Yeah, I can't think. Craft paint, poster paint they used to call it.
Craft paint, which has been around since like the 40s, maybe longer.
And I still use it. I've got over 100 bottles right here that I use regularly.
What else besides Testers was available? Because modeling was a big thing in the 70s. So you had people doing model cars and planes constantly.
I think maybe the Armory had a line of paints, and maybe Raul Partha had a line of paints. But that might have been, late 70s, early 80s, though.
Yes, well, Partha definitely did. I remember those. I used to get those when I painted in the early 80s.
And they were crap.
Oh, I liked them.
Really? I hated them.
I like Vallejo. I'm in the minority. I like Vallejo.
I thought Valerio was the really good one.
Vallejo?
Yeah, Vallejo.
Yeah, I've got, again, 100 bottles right. Actually, 200.
Yeah, it was, and then it got replaced by Games Workshop paints, and now it's War Painter. War Painter is the best, everybody says.
Yeah, Army Painter. I love Army Painter stuff. But even Reaper's paints are good, but it really is, each paint is almost specifically good for a thing.
Right.
Yes. I know Vallejo is the best white still, but other colors.
And their ivory is fantastic. I was just using it 5 minutes ago.
Titanium white's the best for mine, I think. I do a lot of canvas paint, so I haven't made any canvas paints in a while. But that's a whole different shade of color and stuff for that. But for miniatures, it depends on the project. But the best I found for military for variety was Games Workshop for the longest time. But Vallejo got me all the shades of metallics and reddish browns and stuff like that I needed.
Khakis and desert sand, and
Yes.
literally they are, as far as I'm concerned, that's where I would go if I was doing WW2 or any historical. It would be Vallejo.
Right, that's where they got that was a thing, because they were micro armor and armor paints originally, right? Dioramas.
Yep.
Okay. I can't, thinking back, I can't remember as much as I should.
Just part of being human, man.
I
My memory's shot, and I'm half your age.
I'm losing my mind.
What'd you say, Eldrad?
I said he forgot he had amnesia. That's what.
I forget things.
No.
Can you turn your volume up a little?
Let's see here.
You're a little low today. Cheer up, man.
Did anybody read the story?
I actually did, yeah.
I like
By Morno? By Morno? Yeah, I did.
Playing? I liked it.
Yeah, it had a slow start and a little confusing, adult, sort of drug-induced beginning. But then once, I got to like the second page, it was like, oh, okay, I got it. It was very reminiscent of the Earthsea trilogy.
A little bit, yeah.
Really? I didn't get that.
Yeah, where he's fighting, his own creation.
Oh yeah, I viewed it as a Balrog. It was a Balrog on the loose, or a.
But it was him. It was his own It was
Yeah,
his own.
yeah. It's him struggling to get away from this creation, being reinforced to fight it and defeat himself and become a wizard.
Mhm.
Which, in my opinion, it illustrates a fire-resistant web spell in there when he restrains it for a minute and gets away from it, and then starts standing his ground. Um, I thought it was interesting. I like the artwork.
Oh yeah, the artwork
I,
is easily the best part of this.
I
And
really
no,
like the ending too. You know, where he came to his master and was now his equal, and there was no animus. There was no. It was actually a congratulatory thing. That was the goal of the master to bring up a young fledgling wizard to be a contemporary.
Yeah, it seemed like he had him under a Mirage Arcana, like it was all an illusion to test him.
I
Maybe
figured I figured that this was a test, but the because it mentions that the master wizard was actually burnt by the fire elemental, and so but he still talks to his master. So I assume that this is like the dying Earth. Pen is it
yeah.
Pendaloo? Yeah, where he's so advanced, he's kind of detached himself from his body. So he was under no real danger. He just wanted to see if his disciple could clean up his own mess, or if this would knock some sense into him, which it did.
You know,
Knowing, Mhm.
go ahead. I don't want to interrupt. I
knowing
just
that
don't want to forget either.
this guy worked on Arduin, I'm definitely seeing where a lot of the occultic elements came from. The wizardling invoked the keepers of the four watchtowers, and Zidos, the red-bearded Thor.
Hmm.
Sorry, back on to you.
Yeah, you reminded me that I was looking through some books and found out how Jack Vance was actually like one of the guys. He was one of the gang when it came to RPGs.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't realize how I thought they just liked his work and that was it. But no, he was gaming with them and shit. That's awesome.
yeah, they reached out to him. Yeah, he inspired them through fiction. They get a foothold. People notice, what's this game? Oh, this is a game you inspired us to do. Won't you come to Gen Con? Check it out. Bam, hooked.
Yep, and Andre Norton. She was one of the earliest players of Gygax's D&D.
Yeah, you have that very rarely now. Anybody who's reachable in gaming. Gillespie's reachable on his Facebook and stuff. And who's the guy that wrote all the Drit stuff? He plays on P99 all the time. He's playing HQ.
Ari Salvador.
Yeah, he said Ron's Guild.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's in Ron's
a
Guild.
lot of
Nice.
a lot of these writers, they act like they're fucking rock stars, and they're really not.
That's Alan Moore. I hate that. I watched a movie by him the other day, and I couldn't stand. I liked the movie. I'm like, this is plotted. Like, then I saw Alan Moore's face. It's like, oh, this is why it sucks, and it's got this weird tempo.
Yeah, I was. Me and Ari Salvatore, or however you say it, have had more than one discussion online, and he was quite rude, so quite leftist to Reddit, But anyway,
Yeah, they all are. They
Which
all are.
artist isn't?
Most artists are. I'm pretty sure Marr was not a left wing guy.
no. Strangely enough, he
it-
converted to Islam from the music, is what got him. He was traveling the world, and he converted to Islam that way. He wasn't really very. As far as I can tell from his writings, he was.
You guys brought up a
Not
point.
very Muslim, but
I was reading, from the Judges Guild books and the history of them, and how many of them were actually hardcore Christians.
Yes,
Gygax included, and I think David Arneson as well.
later in life. That was
as
later.
well as the two creators of Judges Guild, and they were Sunday school teachers and things like that, and it makes more and more and more sense why D&D has turned into what it currently is when I see that in its roots.
Yeah, your best stories are morality plays. Good versus evil. Right,
Speaking of epic stories and religion and stuff, and might just be me being Tanner, but the mage himself having like a mustache and a beard despite being very young, and the outfit they gave him with the big boots and the belt and the cape and the spear staff. Part of me wonders if Moreau Morno was drawing a little bit on like Kalevala and stuff like that.
Gaul. That's kelp. That's a
Okay,
Gaul.
that's what I was
That's a
not
Gaul
getting.
kelp right there, bud.
Okay, pardon me.
That-
Yeah.
And that
So
was
right about Europe, but not which Europe.
70s art, right? That Gaelic was stylized and given a fantasy life of its own in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Because the stash was in. The stash was
Very, very 70s. I remember
was
people
the-
looking that way. You know,
So was the big rimmed boots and the big puffy hair.
the feathered hair, baby. You gotta have it feathered down to your shoulders.
Yep.
You want to shake it, and the women get moist.
You know, you mentioned boots, and I was thinking, again about Ged from the Earthsea trilogy. Ged was like a ranger before he was a magic user. Okay, and I was thinking every image I ever see of a magic user, that guy wouldn't last one day in the wilds dressed like that. You know what I mean? Going, on the trek, from the town to the dungeon. By the time he got there, his clothes would be tattered.
Yeah.
They never actually think about how you would have to dress. Like everybody would have the freaking in the AD&D Player's Handbook, they were called high hard boots.
Mhm.
Everybody
Mhm.
would have those.
Yep.
If you don't, you're going to be barefoot by the time you get to the dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on what you want. Most medieval forests were manicured.
Yeah.
Peasants weren't allowed to chop down trees. They had to pick up all the loose leaf, and it made it easier to hunt game when you have wide open areas between trees. It's only in the modern era that we think untamed forest is the way to go. That was not tolerated in a feudal lord's realm,
Yep.
right? Because it would cause fires. It would cost.
Think of all the times you've seen the image of somebody carrying a bundle of wood.
A faggot, yeah.
No, I mean, the bound with the cord.
We're going to bring back the original meanings of words. They've already took the rainbow. They're not taking the faggot from us.
And even then,
To be honest, they can have it.
It's funny.
what
they
we
can
should
have
bring
it.
back as an insult is soft sword, which means exactly what you think it means.
Sodomite. I just say sodomite anymore. Actually,
Dick.
there's another term in my Latin's killing me. Facetilis. What's my guy?
Adamite?
No. It's facetilis. I made a meme with it the other day. I had to double check. I'll get in a minute.
While he's checking for that, going back to the Christianity of a lot of these guys, there's actually maybe not a story, but there's actually recountings of how during the Satanic Panic, people would call in and say, "You guys are demon worshippers, how can you do this?" And the staff who were of the faith would go through and recount passages in the Bible to prove that the game was not satanic and that they were not doing anything wrong here, because they were experts on this, sometimes even more than the people criticizing them.
Yeah, I don't waste my time defending myself about what I do for fun versus
As you shouldn't,
Factulum. Fasciculaum. Fasciculum. I was a little off. My memory's bad. And
it sounded like you've gone to Knuckles there.
well, it's a mouthful, which is funny to say.
That was great.
what the hell is this? A Dick Van Dyke show?
Oh my god, yeah.
No, yeah. Talk about the Satanic Panic, though. Who got any experiences back in the '80s when that was going on?
Me. I literally, being in California, I literally was invited to multiple games that would start with some sort of black candle ritual
you
bullshit.
actually had it. Oh, okay. You actually had the Satanist thing going. Okay.
Absolutely, it was California. San Francisco, Satanic Church,
Your
the whole
fault.
bit. Just it was literally there were and it was literally for a lot of people. I hate to say this, for a lot of weak-minded people, Dungeons and Dragons was the gateway drug to the occult.
Huh, that's funny. Let's see. I had the preacher one time actually have a sermon, and I was the only person in church that played D&D, And I remember after the service, I said, I'm glad I didn't because he probably would have burnt my books. But I said, well, here, take my BX rule book and take a look. It's only a math system. It's, but he refused to take the book. Like, no, I won't take it. And but
One
now
second.
looking back, he probably would have burned it. Now at the big Baptist church down the road, we have, and I cannot remember this guy's name for anything. I just remember he kind of looked like Shadow there, with the hair and all that. He never went. He was actually a devout Christian, but once his mother burned all his books and his albums, he pretty much. When we graduated, he still was never going to church again.
He never was a believer.
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
Yeah, well, I guess the representation of his religion was totally against everything and lied on him. What he was doing. So I could see that.
Yeah, the paladin in hell image in the player's handbook says it all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's not glorifying the wicked. It's allowing you to test yourself mentally against something that you wouldn't normally get the opportunity to do so.
And that is a high level, powerful paladin. I mean, those are some high level devils dying on the spikes right there.
That's a pretty badass suit of armor he's got as well.
Mm-hmm. Proper medieval make.
We have an issue coming up that's going to have a lot of the planes in it. Now, that's one thing I wasn't a huge fan of, is all the different multi-planar rules, because your armor would get weaker the further it got out from point of origin, or you could discover that your magic item was made further out and it gets more powerful when you get down there, right? Or into the outer planes or the unknown.
Yeah, I didn't do any of that.
I play a more simplified version now. It's day for day, no time dilation, and one of the games I'm running, they got shifted into the demi-planet Shadow, and it says to change the landscape and all the stuff's dead. I'm like, no, it's still this thing there. So it's being affected by the new environment. It does not become one with the new environment. That's the only thing I'm changing.
Something I thought of before we continue on to modifications for Gamma versus Alpha.
Yeah, those are definition clarifications where they...
On the armor note you said earlier about how, your players just don't wear armor, and how a wizard's robes would get torn up and his feet would get shredded if he went to a dungeon. One of, I think, the key parts of fantasy literature is that, the clothing and the armor you wear is more symbolic. Like, a woman can be in a slinky little metal two-piece in the hot desert or a freezing tundra, and she's pretty comfortable because everyone understands, the armor is symbolic. So part of me is kind of wondering if you could do a thing where you have, like a 10 or 9 unarmored, goes down to 1 or 0, but like the armor in question isn't just like hucklebergs and leather and plate and chain and stuff like that, but it could be more like
Chitin.
Yeah, chitin. Tacoma, go figure, actually has a really strong animal hide that gives you AC 2. That's not as pricey as metal, which is way too expensive there.
You're kidding me.
That was great.
I'm actually more inclined to defrock my players through fireballs and things like that. Oh, your clothes are trash.
If you want the real part, yeah, and your upkeep cost when you leave a dungeon.
I mean, like in mid combat.
I know.
It's
Heck is fair shirt.
AD&D, if you fail your save, you save for all your items. So that includes your undies.
Yep. And funny you should mention upkeep from the dungeon. I'm not even kidding you. One of the first things I buy when I come back from a dungeon after playing AD&D is a bar of soap, and I go to the bathhouse. Because if you don't clean up properly, there's a chance you could get really sick from something.
I always give everybody minuses to the reaction rolls because no one ever cleaned. I'm like, you're covered in gore. You never take a bath. You're nasty.
yeah.
You are now the Pooid.
The Pooid!
I still miss that guy.
If I ever play a druid, it's going to be a necromantic tinged, fungi obsessed druid, and it'd be like, I need to collect manure to feed the mushrooms.
I was just remembering that one NPC Ron had in that game that sadly went away. That was really fun. Where the druid was just completely filthy and covered in poo, so he was the Pooid.
The Pooid.
Yes.
All right. Page 15. Further rules, modifications, and clarifications for Metamorphosis Alpha, also known as errata, because we forgot to define things.
Yes, lots and lots of nerfs. Not all of these are bad, mind you. Like new body parts, I appreciate they clarify. You can give your mutant plant a head. You can get a gland that helps you resist poison.
Yeah.
But some of these, a lot of these were really common sense, and it's a shame that players abuse this.
People are literal, or they want weird stuff, or you just want people going, I got 3 schlongs. What? I'm schlong. I'm a schlong mutant. My finger. I'm
the human shark, right? The human shark.
The human shark. Edward Penis Hands. Players can be ridiculous.
Honestly, if I got attacked and hit by a mutant shark with penis hands, my character would probably just commit suicide right there and then for the shame. I could move on, but
it's like,
how will I ever get on
morale checks? All the hirelings are making morale checks. They're not. They're nervous.
What's that race in Traveler? If you shake their hands, you've literally just had sex with them.
I forget. I remember that now.
Like, really, come on. That was the height of Traveler humor.
Yeah,
I think that's
got a lot of perverts in the game.
Yeah, I think that's a democratic socialist, isn't it? No.
Well, I mean, the game's really big in Britain, so we can't be too surprised.
These are neat. I mean, the precog's kind of neat. Telekinesis, limitation of 50 feet. Otherwise, I guess they didn't have a range limitation and it was broken. Unlimited range telekinesis is kind of broke, especially when you got monitors on a ship.
Yep.
Yeah, open the monitor up. I start beating people to death with the stuff in the room.
Yeah, if you can't see it, you can't lift it.
Taller is only D20 inches. Shorter is D20 inches. New body parts. It says wings, and it says if you're over 125 pounds, you can't fly. So if you had a heavy character and with wings, they're just useless, right? Like the Nalfishni, little tiny wings on a giant demon's back.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean by some of these did not need to be nerfed, because like dragons can still fly despite being big chunky boys.
Yeah, well, the taller's in feet, by the way, not in inches.
Right.
Yeah, you get to be 20 foot taller, 26 feet tall. That's pretty scary.
I like the art of the ghoulish-looking mutant as well. That's pretty cool.
Nice big full half-page ad for City State Invincible Overlord.
Mm-hmm. Oh God, I would pay good money for that right now.
How much was it originally?
It was like $20.
Then?
Yeah.
$3.95.
No,
wait, hold on. It's
City State was $9.
Oh really? I'm talking about the box set.
Our famed Guildmaster subscription is $12. A 1 year Guild member subscription is $12 for a year.
God.
City State Overlord Plane 8 was $9.
Oh, was it 9? Maybe I'm thinking.
Our deluxe fantasy package will give you any starting ref a big boost. You start with the City State, Dungeons and Dragons, and Polyhedral dice set for $20. So you got D&D, you got the rule set and the Invincible Save Overlord.
From there, you could honestly play 51 years of gaming without anything else.
Yeah.
And there's a ready sheet package, dungeon back cards. I've never seen the TAC card or a handy reference for Greyhawk, Chainmail.
Oh God, that reference sheet pack.
Oh yeah, they're action cards. Yeah.
That reference sheet pack had like 20 completely different sheets of things that we would kill for, even today. Plotting and planning sheets, and not just the character sheets. I think I have it somewhere. I'm going to go look. But it's got all these different forms for tracking all the different things you might want to track. It was just, they were so ahead of the curve. Judges Guild back in the day. There's a reason why they, eventually parted ways, because they were literally a gnat's wing away from overtaking D&D.
Yeah, back in the 80s, I saw that in the shops, and I remember looking at it going, this is, I don't know, I didn't like the layout and it kind of looked a little bit cheaper than the rest of the game book, so I passed them up.
But that was intentional.
Yeah, I would kill for those books. Now, I have PDFs of some of that, but it's just,
oh my God. All my Judges Guild PDFs. I got to dig through some external hard drives.
Actually, here's a question, Shadow. What do you think would be different if Judges Guild had overtaken or bought out TSR and D&D?
I believe it would have been better.
There would have not been any bending the knee to Satanic Panic.
Absolutely.
They're going to beat the fucking kick rocks.
Nor would there be the virtue signaling, and it would have been unbelievably better. Just looking at what I'm looking at in the big deluxe edition historical like tome of what Judges Guild's history was, and the way it is still now. And the fact that it was a family business, father and son, over 50 years, still doing the same thing. The things we would have gotten, the massive amount of detail, the city state of the Invincible Overlord, you literally could, if you had it back then, you could still be using it today.
Yep.
Out of the 40-year campaign, if you just
and as detailed as it was still, like we were talking about earlier, open-ended and vague enough for you to make it your own.
I've read some of the entries on the hex map, like the leech and the crystalline dragon skull, and just so much great stuff. The Appendix N look and feel would not have gone away anytime soon.
No.
It may have changed, but it definitely will not have gone away.
What's up, Lee? I'm still here, guys.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. All my publications now look worse than the Judges Guild stuff. All my,
the case.
I make my stuff in zine style for the most part, and and I kind of like that look. It's like, in fact, when I find somebody's old zine from the 70s or 80s and sometimes 90s, that's like the old SCA stuff or old LARP stuff or old gaming. I love stuff like that. Sadly, that's far. You can't really find stuff like that anymore.
I disagree. There was a supplement that was made for Labyrinth Lord, and now it's its own game, and it's all that handwritten zine look to it.
Which one's that?
It's on the tip. I can't remember.
Oh, darn.
Hold on. I'll go just open up your zines folder and look at it. Black Pudding.
Black Pudding. Okay. I think I have a few issues of that.
Yeah.
And they're really good.
It has that look.
And honestly, I guess it's the do-it-yourself feeling of the zines that I like so much.
Yeah. People were complaining about the cost of certain books coming out, and I was like, we could go back to no illustrations and just have rules and hand-drawn crap in there, and it would be like $10.
Mm-hmm. You'd be able to mass-produce it and launch it out there really well.
Yeah, then people would just criticize it for not having any fancy art.
Mm-hmm.
I think Condor went and made one without art, though, didn't he?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Well,
see, I always had a lot of my stuff made to be printed in a booklet form with PDF because I always use like size 14 fonts. But, to print it yourself and get a document stapler, you can have all that stuff on your own,
I do hope the font gets bigger because it is rough on my old eyes to read this stuff when I print it out.
Yeah, I do size 14 to 16 font now because I also suffer from the old man's eyes.
Well, I need to go get new bifocals, I think. All right, Gnomecast, Chapter 6. It is still trudging on.
Yeah, I think it has a few more issues to go before it disappears. I do want to one day just sit down and just get through these, but regrettably, they're usually the last thing I read.
Oh, really? I kind of think it's interesting, but...
Oh, make no mistake.
It's got the smaller font. I think the other one seems like it has a bigger font. It's just rough on me. But this one's funny. I like the story. I'm actually cheering for this guy to get killed. I want the protagonist to die. That's what I want. But...
Yep.
Maybe
well, Phil, sorry about to step out, so I'll see y'all later.
Take care, man.
All right, have a good one.
But it was interesting how it went into that ambush, which is like, the ambush, we'll just fight our way past it, and how it goes south on you as a player character when you do stuff like that. It's like, oh, crap. they had reinforcements in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Sucks to be you.
Indeed. Next, we've got some new psionic rules. A year after Eldritch Wizardry or so.
Well, new. I think these are original. Think
Yeah.
about that. These are Sonic rules for Eldritch Wizardry. AD&D book, I don't think had these in them yet because it wasn't printed yet.
Oh yeah, like AD&D still a little whiles away.
Yes.
I don't even think the monster
Oh
manual.
my god.
It's being play tested, right? So these are being play tested. Oh, those are nice, dude. Sweet.
I knew I had it. Second edition, revised, enlarged, and in booklet form. Volume 1, ready ref sheets, game aids and variant, designed especially for use with Dungeons and Dragons, Volume 1. Oh my freaking gourd. And every page is different.
Superb. Just superb.
Well,
I also found something else, but I don't want to distract from
After
what
show.
you guys were.
Yes.
I don't know about you guys, but I love psionics
Same.
in every game. Every
Same.
game.
Every time I play D&D, I roll on the chart, and I never get it, but one day I will.
I had a player playing a psionicist in our AD&D game from high school forward. And he's a kind of guy who never let his character die. So even if it got killed, it just showed up in another game, right? It couldn't die. He couldn't let it go. He doesn't play D&D now, but in his head, Malachar still walks the world alive. He would never let the character die, even though we killed him.
Well, I mean, maybe Malachar showed up on another dimension where he also died.
Don't get me started.
Okay. I'm of two minds on this one, because it says here, for humans and half-humans, humans need to roll a percentile die of 91%, while the half-human requires a roll of 95. Now, I know in AD&D, the races that are officially allowed to have it, AD&D 1, is human, dwarf, and gnome, if I'm remembering correctly. I think I do. But here, it's, if you want psionic abilities, that is strictly a human or a half-human thing, and elves, dwarves, and halflings just do not get psionics.
Originally demi-humans didn't get psionics at all.
Yeah, I think that's kind of retarded. It should be a base chance, and it up to the GM whether if he's even allowing it. He may want to run a world where dwarves are the only people with psionics, or only half orcs, or only elves. Putting those racial limitations in like that denies creativity. You know, in a way.
Race protection. Like you got class protection, you got race protection. But you notice it was 2 static die rows here for Eldritch Wizardry. When you get to the AD&D, there's lots of factors when you make your roll, including your stats. So this is play tested forward and added demi-humans later. But originally it was just humans and half-humans.
Indeed.
You're wrong.
I do find it curious that a half-elf and a half-orc, not that half-orcs are a thing yet, can be psionic in OD&D, but not in AD&D. I'm kind of curious as to why that was made the case, or if...
Well, they were tested out. By the time the DMG came out, psionics were available to demi-humans, wasn't it?
If that's the case, excellent.
Yeah, but there was lots of percentages, and being a demi-human was a negative, right? The best chance to be it was a human, half elf, and then the rest were kind of harder to get. You didn't get extra bonuses. But there are psionic dwarves. They're called Duergar.
Yeah, I know Duergar, and I want to say Symbolfin roll double if they're going to be psionic or not, since they tend to be more... Yeah, some caveats. Something I've noticed here is abilities are divided into 6 categories.
Yeah, it's humans, possibly dwarves and halflings. Then why?
Okay, so not gnomes.
Yeah, why though? Why?
I mean, my assumption is that either
they're the human demi-human. They're the human demi-human. Elves are completely alien, and gnomes shouldn't even be in the game, in my opinion, right?
Half-orcs.
Everything they do is done by 2 other races.
Half-orcs, I think their reasoning there is that the orcish part of them just prevents that psionic ability. Half-elves. Yeah.
Why, I mean, where did they come up with these I mean, were there stories or was there literature that gave examples of why and why not
I'm
back
trying to
then?
think over that, but like I'm thinking of like the Barsoom novels where everyone is a little bit psionic. It's not like
Right.
they're like doing telepathy, but the language is simple and they just use psionic indicators to fill in those gaps. And then some people are much more adept at it.
You
But
also,
that's like you sorry.
you also know that, like in some of the sci-fi, the pinnacle of human evolution, you become sonic. So it was
Mhm.
like the final evolution of human development was sonics, and therefore that was their special thing. All the demi-humans and stuff belong in the past because they're more attuned to magic and the physical or the fey realm, and they
But,
don't
but,
get it.
but if you look through the deities and demigods book, everybody has psionics.
Yeah, and that was a terrible idea because that's an Achilles heel on all those deities.
Indeed, because here's the thing that we should have mentioned earlier, viewers, is psionics sounds really great. Oh, I can do this. I got PowerPoints. But if the more you use psionics, the more you draw attention from other psionic forces. And they're usually
Ellipses,
much,
mind
much stronger.
flayers, brain parasites.
Yeah, if you're a wild talent sonic character and you turn the corner and there is more than one mind flayer, your psionic talent fighter, mage, whoever will be dead before initiative's rolled.
Mm-hmm.
They're cooked because all that takes place before you roll initiative, and they're doomed.
Yeah.
Doomed.
His brains will be leaking out his ears and nose.
Yeah, that's
Although I
the
should note that
experience.
if you look at the Mind Flayer's abilities, they've only got one, maybe two main attacks. The ones that are really going to kill you are the demons.
But it's the point. Yeah, the demons have a lot too, but that's volume usually.
Gary,
But you look at the sonic strength of the mind flayer versus the max points you would have as a wild talent. You're going to run out of points. You're going to run out of the ability to defend yourself.
Oh yeah, like you really need your buddies to run over and intercept the monster while you're fending him off. But
But you forget that psionic combat takes place
first,
within a single segment.
Mhm.
A single segment is a complete. Oh, it's crazy. But what I liked about this article is something I never really paid attention to, but the characters with sonic potential may learn to use other abilities from other characters. To do this, the learner has to have ESP or possess an ESP medallion, and the teacher must have telepathic projection or a helmet telepathy, blah, blah, blah. I don't remember that later on, but it's been a long time since I read this, honestly. But yeah, it takes effect. You can learn more sonic powers in Eldritch Wizardry in the.
There was none of that in the Player's Handbook or DMG.
Oh,
Other than getting a bonus here and there from certain very specific magic items, you get a little bump here, a little bump there. Otherwise, you get what you get, and God help you if you ever run into anything else with psionics, because you're 9 times out of 10 you're boned.
Yeah.
Beyond being able to learn more abilities from someone, which is really nice, something I need to give this credit for, which I almost forgot, is they didn't do this in AD&D, thankfully. In original D&D, psionics, to balance that they were much stronger in that system, is that you actually would lose like followers and abilities from your class. Like you actually lost some of your class power to get psionic power. And in this playtest or redo, they say, yeah, don't worry about that. You don't lose class abilities.
Yeah, I like this option for like basic or whatever for Eldritch Wizardry. I dig it. But yeah, I've never been a huge fan of Sonics. I think in the end, unless you have a Sonicist and they're broken, that the wild talents will get you killed at high level play. It's gonna bite you in the ass in a major way, and there's nothing you can do to save yourself.
So get a lobotomy.
Like Mind Blank will help, which means having an 8th level spell cast on you daily. Nah. Morale in D&D. Did you guys want to go more about the Sonics?
Sure, if you want. I was just about to say things to the effect of, speaking of broken and confusing, I'm not a fan of this morale system.
Oh, really?
Really.
It's overcomplicated.
I wouldn't even go for that. It's more like a lot of stuff that should not matter matters now, and then there's like numerical codes, which I don't really want to see outside of like Traveler. Like rolling 2d6 and adding a modifier, that works very well in my mind.
Yeah.
Taking in like leadership, different species.
Yeah, because you've got X race in your group. Suddenly, yeah, you've got to have like a little cheat sheet for the group, and for every encounter, you've got to have that figure already in your head. You know
It's
what I mean?
also another nerf to non-humans.
Well, looking at the chart, these are a couple wargamers, dude. That's a wargamer chop. A 6-step morale check is a wargamer thing. That's not a. Mine's 2-step. 2d6 morale check, and then I have a d100 roll to see what they do. That's it. This is overcomplicated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to learn that.
And to be perfectly blunt, if it's your 10th adventure and you've got a Dorth in the party with and he's pulled his weight the entire time, there's no world where that should give you a morality penalty,
I could see it maybe giving you a reaction penalty.
Yes.
You bump into a group of whatever, sure. That, but again, that's a little bit more time. Things get rough. Oh, because you got a freaking such and such in the party, you fucking flub the roll. Even though they like Tanner said, they've been pulling their weight the whole time, doing heroic things, and suddenly you're still getting that -5 or 10 or whatever percent. It's dumb.
Mm-hmm. Like,
and wouldn't that also be case specific to your campaign? Maybe dwarves are the shit on your world, and everybody loves them, right?
I love stumpies.
Yeah.
Versus, you're getting a negative because reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like for something like Mordenheim, where in the Warhammer setting, elves and dwarves, they don't just dislike each other. They've got like some very bad blood due to the Beard War. If you put an elf and a dwarf in the same warband, they're going to give each other penalties because they're like glaring at each other the entire time. So in that case, then yeah, race, species, critter-based penalties is perfectly acceptable. For something like D&D, maybe not so much.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have a character in your party that has a enmity like +1 to hit a race, that's a -2 to any monster reaction chart. So you can never get friendly because there's a race war involved. You walked in the middle of a race war.
Yep.
You're dragging it around with you. So.
Also, what did you guys think of the Disenchanted Forest by Arthur J. Breer?
Did I overlook something? Oh, the cartoon. I thought it was another short story. I said, I read all these short stories.
Don't worry, I'm not trying to fool you or anything.
I like the Phineas one better.
Yeah, like this one's kind of cute where the dice fall on them and is missed again, but the artwork is even worse than Dirt's. And that's saying something. But yes, Phineas Fingers. Very much love Phineas Fingers, where go figure, the wizard Shadow mentioned earlier shows up and saves his ass.
A Board Flack, greatest wizard name ever.
Yep. The Bolt Lobber, and I seldom miss at this range.
Bolt Lobber.
I love that finger gun target. That's just whoever came. I want one. I mean, think about it. You go to a convention with that on your hand. Oh my God!
Reach for the sky, mister.
You got a 3D printer, don't you?
Pardon?
You got a 3D printer, don't you?
No. Well, I do, but it's never been used. It's still.
Put the boy to work.
I know in the summer I'll be borrowing my little brother's 3D printer to print off some of these like Grenadier, Heritage, and old Hero Quest minis. I'd love to get those painted up and use those.
I just spent $20 on Battletech miniatures that were printed by someone else, and I'm thinking here, going, why don't I just get a printer for $300 or one? I think they're cheaper than that, and just print them myself.
Well, before you buy any Heritage reprints, let me know. I can hook you up with a guy who can get you.
I'm only painting Battletech right now.
I can hook you up with a guy who has the molds for like all the original Heritage and a bunch of other companies, and they'll be in white metal, so they will literally last forever. unlike lead
Nice.
or plastic.
Yeah, we're going to start playing Battletech here locally. So I just want to build a few more companies, maybe a battalion. I don't know.
Awesome.
That's how that happens. It starts as a lance, and next thing you know, I've painted a battalion or division, and that's just how that happens. I kind of want to make some Davian and some Tarn Concordant.
We got this beautiful picture by Sullivan of the Death Angel.
Yeah, I was going to share that. I actually set that up to get ready to share it, except for one thing. That is the biggest pencil neck geek alien hitman I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that whole Death Angel is literally, I'm killing your character now.
Yeah, it is pretty much an assassin.
It's like, it was so blatant. I'm like, really? I mean, I know the hostile DM or whatever you want to call it, the killer DM
yeah.
was always a thing, but you throw that at a table, and you pretty much are telling everybody you don't want Bob at the table anymore.
Yeah, it's coming back the next day if you kill it.
And you could be next.
A hit, save or die at -3.
And you can't come back eventually. And, like, you need to, like, dispel it a certain way. Like, I'm actually in favor of more angels and, like, monster manuals and fantasy. It's kind of a bummer that, like, Magic and I think Monster Collection are the only ones that really have prominent angels. And then Magic
Well, there
Gathering,
was the Solar and the Planetar.
The Planetar and Solar were like...
True, but it's like, let me put it this way. Evil wizards summon demons, right? So, like, a good wizard should be able to summon an angel.
Yep.
I understand, why you summon up, like, the Hawk of Heaven or whatever, but it's like, it's a little bit of a disconnect. The sort of devil but no god problem.
Diva, I think that they chose the words because we've all agreed that the original creators of the game were Christian. The concept of you being able to conjure an angel is heretical.
Yeah. Well, not even conjure.
You're talking about technically heresy. So just call them a diva. I mean, it's a multiplanar world. They're the opposite of demons and devils. So we can be loosey-goosey with demons and devils because they meddle in the affairs of man.
I can see kind of
men and messengers.
I can see how maybe not summon, but like beckon or call or ask.
Yeah.
Hey, can I get some help here? As opposed to get your ass down here.
Right.
Yeah, there's a difference between praying for a miracle and an angel comes down versus making like an arcane circle, going skitty butter, and getting God very upset.
No, but it's taboo to this conversation for a lot of Christians, right?
Understood.
And that's one of the reasons that people give Catholics such shit, because they pray to saints. I don't have that mentality, but I understand it because I know some evangelicals that papists aren't Christians. That's a word I've heard.
And go figure, there are papists who think that Baptists are not Christian. Go figure.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I have this conversation. I got a guy who walks by my house. He's a priest, and we talk about religion. So it's funny.
It's a good source. Next page, we have my current profile pic. I know this is meant to be a bit scary, but I'm kind of chuckling at, like, the big circular door, the window opens up, there's this little guy here. Hey, what you looking at? Your stout's kind of ugly too, don't you know? I love this little guy.
They continue the definitions on this last page. They're still doing the thing where they're chopping up the articles. I hate it.
They will for another year or two, I think.
I know. Molecular disruption, de-evolution, dual brain, plant mobile. It's got some interesting powers, and I recognize them from Gamma World. Gamma World copied almost all that directly verbatim.
Yeah, and it made the whole concept a lot more playable. You had a whole world in which to work with instead of this confined starship that eventually, where do you go? You know what I mean?
I think the idea was that, well, here's the good thing and the tragic thing, is that the idea with Metamorphosis Alpha is they were meant to design your own spacecraft to explore and
get off.
But of course, everyone liked the Warden. Everyone wanted to play on the Warden, which probably made Jim Ward's day, but he's like, this was my ship. You know, you had to build your own.
Well, no, what I mean is like, you know, there's really no room for domain play unless you don't mind playing in the equivalent of the holodeck.
Well, here's where I'm going with that. You could do the domain play with like the various tribes and the conspiracy and stuff, but I think the idea was that it was meant to be maybe not a shorter campaign, but you were supposed to realize you were on a ship, find the control panels, fix the thing to the best of your ability, and either get back to Earth or go to the planet you were supposed to and set up shop as best you can. But again, you know, if you're enjoying the game, if you're doing the multi-year thingamagabber, you know, you don't really want it to end unless it has to. So I do see where you're coming from there.
You crash it into the sun and you get off of it. That's how you do. That's how you win that game. You crash it in. You end their suffering by crashing into the sun as you eject to a habitable planet. I grant mercy.
True, and it's a bit darker than I would have gone for, but that is a way to end the game.
Go dark, whatever you can. Just go like, is it the right thing to do? Damn, that's the right thing to do.
In some cases, it might be the only thing to do, especially if it gets really dark and you're playing Event Horizon or something.
Dude, I keep going back to that movie. I'm gonna watch Pandorium again because it's like the darkest version of Metamorphosis Alpha. I think. Yeah, we keep getting woken up and they keep eating us.
Yeah. So that was issue 6.
Number
Next
6.
one, we've got Mongol Armies, America's Stonehenge, Part 2 of Reminiscence of Solo Wargaming. Some more Tecmo, which I'm certain you guys are looking forward to. What to do when the dog eats your dice. Artillery Evolution, Vikings, and The Journey Most Alone, sequel to The Forest Flames.
American Stonehenge. I've been there.
Nice. You have to tell them all about it next time. What do you think of this?
I also found this. Speaking of Tecmo, can you read
That's
it?
cool. Was it say War of Wizards? Heard that was a cool game.
Yeah, we're gonna have to play that sometime.
By Mar Barker, game of fantastic duels between mighty sorcerers, which I wished Magic the Gathering would have actually felt like. It never felt like that to me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It was like the exact opposite. You're summoning all these creatures to do your shit. No, I'm flying and casting lightning bolt on your ass.
Well, I remember in the early days, spells were like really, really powerful, and creatures sufficiently less so. So you could play, you know, lobbing spells at each other. But of course, you
Burn
know,
deck, baby.
yeah.
You just told me I need to play a burn deck. A blue
Or a mill deck.
burn deck with fast mana. Yeah, that's what you need.
Or you could do a D&D Psionics thing and go, mill. Kinda. Oh, well, I'll give it. I should clarify. Milling is when you. Lol. Milling is when you make your opponent discard their entire deck card by card, and that's when they lose the game.
My triple D deck was that. I would make you draw your deck. I would kill you from damage from making you draw, or I would just get rid of your deck. I'd make you draw your entire deck. I had unlimited mana options into the thing when I quit playing. It was
For me,
on the first turn 45% of the time.
My decks were all about Fireball, Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Ball Lightning, Goblin Grenade was the only creatures I had, so I could blow you up for 5 points of damage.
You got slide deck, dude. Goblin Slide's a good deck.
Yep. And goblins are still around. They're still a great option.
But everybody I knew when I played, they're like, "What the hell are you doing? I'm blasting you. Where's your monsters? What? I don't want to. I want this over. I'm trying to kill you.
You can kill me.
That's so annoying. It's like, isn't the entire point of the game to build a deck that's you? Like, if you've decided I will do mostly spells, that should be respected. You know, it's not what are you doing. It's let's see how you're doing it.
It is not. It's that game is not as much about fantasy as math, and it is about the meta. So it's all about meta gaming, winning deck combos, and they break the game and then nerf. They break and nerf. It keeps you in a constant cycle of purchasing and chasing the meta to stay relevant.
And that is one of the tragedies of TCGs. Speaking from someone who actually likes them a great deal, it's like they are near impossible to balance because every new card is a new game piece you can use.
Good
Oh,
mechanics.
look at all that. Oh, that is nice.
You know what this is? You know what this
That-
is?
Those are the
think-
game pieces, right?
It's a sticker sheet.
Yeah.
Wow.
1975 with two sheets in between two sheets of cardboard, so you'd have cardboard to put the stickers on instead of having to punch out the pieces.
Yeah. I guess we'll end the stream.
Oh,
That's
what
what-
about your guys' thoughts on this issue, number 6?
Oh, yeah.
Is okay. I mean,
It's okay.
I wouldn't go out and spend the $50 to get it in my collection. You know, I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I, did the thing. I'm looking forward to it getting better and thicker. You know, because
Yeah, great pages.
I mean, literally, I feel like had I been alive, I mean, in the hobby, and picked up the magazine on the shelf, I would flip through it and be able to read the articles in the store in the time that it would take, and I wouldn't buy the magazine. I would have just been like, oh, okay, yeah, cool story, bro. Okay, next.
Yeah, usually you bought the mag to support the company, but yeah, I hear you. It's it's gonna be really
or it
interesting
had stuff in
when,
it that I needed, or I
Yeah.
wanted permanently.
because
You
like
know?
I would definitely use the C trade. I would definitely use stuff from the alternate starting scenario. Definitely try out some new psionic rules, but I probably would not use the morale rules. And Death Angels, I would use very, very sparingly.
I would have never used them. It's just that Death Angel was literally like,
It's a fuck you. I get you.
yeah, it's literally telling your player you don't want them at the game table. I would just say, dude,
You gotta go.
Yeah,
For me, this
as
would be
opposed
more
to-
like a puzzle challenge. Like, can you figure out how to stop this thing? But yeah, absolutely.
well, yes, but it's a very player specific.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to me, it almost seems like cheating. You know what I mean? When you're making something specifically designed to fuck over one person because of something that they might have or might not have done in gameplay, it's not my job as a GM to have an opinion.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If they do evil shit, okay, the world's going to do good shit or evil shit back to them, but it's not going to be so very specific, unless I'm making a group of bounty hunters to hunt down the party or even the player. But that's a little bit more. It should be expected. If you're playing a bad guy, the good guys are going to come after you. But if you're playing, just a neutral chaotic neutral wizard, and suddenly, I've got to bring out this freaking thing to try to kill you specifically. It's just like, maybe you should just not come back to the game because you're pissing me off and everybody else off. And
Yeah, at that point, just show the player the door, Fair enough. Personally, I did like it, but again, bear in mind, we are reading this from either our old collection or on Internet Archive, so we don't have to spend an arm and a leg to get it.
Yeah.
But again, I like it, but I don't love it. And regrettably, I think the first year anniversary special next week or week after is not going to be the best ever. Although in my notes, Dragon 8 looks much better. 9 too.
Yeah, I'm not doing the best ofs. I'm just doing all the.
Yeah, I just did all the best ofs, and they were good, but and I really liked them for if you're going to get Dragon magazines, those are some of the best ones to get because they have the really good NPCs and.
I think hidden gems are in the individual issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
Stuff. They have personal biases and preferences and what played out over time. I'm interested in the dead ends that could help modern games.
indeed, like
Well,
and even seeds for your own campaign. Because I noticed in the Sea Trade, he actually mentioned his campaign setting and some of the places there, and you could take those names and just go all out with those.
Sure. I was talking more specifically for the NPC and PC character classes that, for me, are some of the most used things that I keep going back to. The Death Master, the Scribe, the Cloistered Cleric, all those things were the blacksmith. I always needed them.
Yeah.
Always.
So you already got those incorporated in your ongoing campaign, then, right?
Oh yeah.
I take inspiration. I think the only thing I would take away is the Sea Trade, because I always hate doing Dungeons and Merchants. It irritates me, but characters go that. More people are focused on real estate than they are actually adventure, which there's nothing glorious about being a mole. It just seems
one
boring.
of the big memes in AD&D nowadays is the DM not letting the player buy like chickens and eggs and stuff, because if you're going to be a farmer, be an NPC.
Right. Or, why you wait to do that in the middle of the session? We have 2.5 hours to play, and you want to dedicate 20 minutes of RP with a fucking farmer. Yeah. That's like shitting on everyone else's time for a week, because they're not getting that time back. Time is a currency. You don't get it back. Once time is gone, it's gone. But yeah, the morale thing's trash. I would use the Death Angel illustration as a red herring. I would put that image in my game and not say a word about it. You see an image, it's painted on the wall, blah, blah, this is what it looks like. The characters make so much stuff up in their head. If they know what that is from that article, they automatically think, oh no, but he's sending a hitman after us. It's just a picture on the wall. I like the art. I love red herrings. Let the torture themselves.
Oh my god.
This players is evil, but it's so funny.
Especially the older players, right?
They vaguely recognize stuff. The memory gets to a certain point, they recognize it, and then the little sphincter tightens up. We're like, wait a minute, something's up. This is going to go bad. I put the heel that the Tomb of Horrors on. I've used that illustration and that heel multiple times in my worlds. Right? When they recognize the illustration, they think that cave is the Tomb of Horrors. It's not.
Here's a great way to fuck with them. Have that picture on a wooden plank, and it's the sign for the Death Angel drinking hole tavern.
I can do something like that. Or because you know me, if I'm going to put the Tomb of Horrors in somewhere, it's in the Borderlands, in the Caves of Chaos, and I'm not telling you it's there until you find it.
All right.
The kobolds have maps to treasure down that hallway.
Have fun, human.
I did that once, man. That was hilarious. Gotta embrace your inner Negan, I guess. But what was in the next one? Did it give a preview for the next at the end? Was that what you was reading?
Yeah. Tanner read it off.
Yeah. I must have overlooked
me if that sounded like gibberish. But next one is Dragon number 7, and that's what I meant by the birthday issue.
Oh, yeah. I kind of dig it. I mean, this is the April 77. The next one's going to be what month?
I was literally 10 years old when it came out.
Wow. Nice.
2 years later, I would get my first D&D books.
Wow. What was it?
Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, Monster Manual.
Good man.
I started with Redbox. Redbox, and then started getting hardbacks. Right.
So when they say the term high Gygaxian, my 12-year-old little smooth brain was able to absorb it.
Oh yeah, same.
That's a commentary on modern society and an inability to read. People, I saw a TikTok video of this chick, and she was complaining that she can't spell. She's got a degree from college, and
I saw that video. She can't spell.
And I'm like, you never read. If you read a lot as a child, you have a greater vocabulary. I mispronounce things because I never heard the word out loud. I read it in a book and never heard it pronounced.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So and that's not even the stupidest of book talk. As we enter our 100th minute here, there are booktubers who will only read the dialogue so they can finish the book faster.
Yeah, that's a form of speed reading. You can
Yeah,
read something and just every other word and understand what the whole thing is.
and
my
honestly,
God.
that's kind of a problem with the book itself. But yeah, I'm seeing Shadow face palming here. We better finish up.
No, the concept of only reading the dialogue,
It's just a script at that point.
Yeah,
You're missing so
it's
much.
well, it's not
retarded.
a script.
Yeah.
It's literally retarded. It's like you don't really like to read; you like to hear conversations.
Right. Bingo. So it's a conversationalist approach to it. Whereas in a script, you would have a movement, thought, and camera angle to build tension for the.
It's literally someone should just stick to watching TV.
That's all I know.
Or they can play Dungeons and Dragons and actually do something with their brain.
Well, they can find different DM because I don't want to retrain these people.
Oh, I never said that you had to.
I don't think like welcome people in the hobby. I'm like fuck them.
Well, I thought you were going to go with more like, welcome to the hobby. Here's your red pilling. Get ready for the Tomb of Horrors, you little brats.
We'll figure it out. They'll find me. If they want my style, they'll find me. Otherwise, the whole thing about taking the 5e and these people who want to use D&D as therapy and people who are self-inserting their fucking perversions into their gaming, I'll pass. Like,
I don't
nope.
want to hear.
I'm going to hit end stream. Later, guys. See y'all next Thursday. It'll be the same usual suspects with or without Eldrad. I don't know. He may be here, may not.
He comes, Tide goes in, Tide. Wait, no. Eldrin comes in, Eldrin comes out. He'll be
Yeah, he's forgetful.
All right, guys. Can't wait for lucky number 7. You guys take care and have yourselves a great rest of the day.
Later, y'all.